Is the new Mortal Kombat movie flawless, or is it a
fatality?
Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signor, and I just got finished watching the new Mortal Kombat movie, which is available on HBO Max to stream, or you can go to theaters and watch it there as well if you have theaters open by you. Which one should you see? Should you see this in theaters? Should you watch it on HBO Max? Is it any good? Is it better than the previous Mortal Kombat movies? I'm going to break it all down. No real spoilers, just stuff you've seen in the trailer is the stuff I'm going to talk about here and share my thoughts. All right, so getting to this movie, overall, I liked it. The opening of the film starts with the origin, I guess, of Scorpion and Sub-Zero. And if you've watched the trailers, they show you all this. In fact, they released the first 7 minutes online. It's a really great scene, and it sets the tone for a more serious movie. And obviously, I'm not going to say what happens in the scene in case you didn't watch that scene, but it clearly implies that we'll probably get another showdown between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, as the trailer clip showed. And I really liked them the most in this film. And part of me wishes we had stayed in that time period and tone somehow, because once they zoom to present day, the movie continues to take itself seriously, and it's a hard line to walk for this kind of movie, because look, the plot of this movie is immensely silly. This tournament from the other worlds, and it's just like it doesn't make any sense. And so the film usually works for me when you sort of just accept it and go forward and do it. And so they do that to an extent, but I'm not a fan of like the lore. I liked playing the game when I was a kid. I loved the blood and fighting, and it's like, how do you adapt that? And I learned, well, no, there was a whole comic series, there was a cartoon, there was a lot, and there's a lot of people who really loved the lore of this film. So if you're a diehard Mortal Kombat fan, which I am not, I'm a casual gamer who's played it, and loved playing as Scorpion and never knew how to do the fatalities, so you understand who you're hearing from. I didn't find myself connecting fully to sort of the lore and the deep takes when they were getting there. I suspect non-fans of the game might also roll their eyes at times. And as for hardcore fans of the game, I see it sort of mixed online. It seems like a lot of people are just mad. Where's Johnny Cage? I'll get to that in a second. But overall, like, it feels like it's respectful to the source material enough. There are some things they do, but overall I liked that they keep it serious. At the same time, I wish it hadn't taken itself so seriously. The film really does pick up when we meet Kano. Kano to me was by far the standout of this film. He's brash, he's violent, he's obscene, he's funny, and he's sort of like the best qualities of what I think the film could have been more of. Because look, when I see a Mortal Kombat movie, I just expect it to be bloody, gory. If we have an R, let's finally do some really bloody, crazy stuff. Let's have some funny one-liners. And that's really the two most important things, right? Cool character, fun, cool characters, badass fights. And ideally, if we can actually then show the origin of these characters and feel for these characters, then it's going to even be more powerful. And Kano is definitely the comic relief guy in the film that I honestly, thank God he was in it, because he made me laugh quite a few times throughout it, and sort of lightens the mood of what has become sort of a little at times a dour and unrealistic premise, which it is if you get stuck in it. And the movie is really about Raiden and trying to gather like the fighters, while Shang Tsung is there leading the bad guys, sort of getting impatient because the next tournament is coming, and they've already won, I think it was 9 tournaments, and one more tournament will finally let them take over Earth forever. And so obviously the stakes are high, but it's not a tournament season, and be warned, fans of the project, of the games, there's no tournament in this movie, but that doesn't mean they don't justify some big final fights and things that I did enjoy. But that's another reason some of you might get annoyed. There's no tournament in this movie. It's all just sort of fights and build-up of sort of building this clearly franchise, they hope. Look, when the film embraces the silliness and just gets into the fight action and doesn't really try to over-explain it, I do think the film works better. When the characters like sit and talk, it can feel a little stiff at times, without a doubt. And so the other thing I want to talk about is there's a lot of people complaining over this new character, Louis Tan. His name is Cole in the film. He's played by actor Louis Tan. And they're mad because it's like, what's he doing here? And where's Johnny Cage? But I liked Cole. I got to say, I'm going to defend Cole because I think it's a good... the filmmaker said, look, as I'm looking at the quote, he's there for the audience to really sort of ask the questions. I think that's a kind of a dumb answer. There's more to it. to the character, which I liked his arc and what happens. But the reality is you could have had Sonya or Jax or Kano sort of ask the questions. In fact, sometimes they do still. And so I don't know if you really needed that, if it helped that much to have him sort of there as the human. That said, what they do to the character, which I don't want to spoil, I liked. I didn't dislike it. Fans of the game may not like it, but as a casual viewer, I didn't. I liked where it goes and where his character goes. They give him a worthy arc, even if it may be a little obvious, but I enjoyed where it went. Look, overall, it's a little bit of a rushed origin story to set the tone. And again, without the sort of expected tournament, I could see how some fans might be annoyed. But when they fight and finally get to fighting, there is some great fight sequences, and there's definitely some cool gore as well. Some fatalities are in there. I would say some of the standouts, if we're going through sort of the characters themselves, pulling up this sort of list, Kung Lao I really enjoyed. And Kung Lao is a really great fatality moment in the film, probably the best. And I would have liked a few more of those moments, and I hope if this series does continue, especially if they decide to just do it for HBO Max, who knows, but embrace those gore scenes. Like, I expect some Final Destination, more gore scenes, even more, because that's what the game really is about. That's sort of what separates Mortal Kombat, I feel like, from other ones, is it's sort of like a horror film mixed with martial arts. And I don't feel like they did that enough in this film. Like, the scene, they've shown this in the trailers too, it sort of implied it, but when Sub-Zero is like freezing Jax's arms and rips them off. It's cool, but it does feel a little CGI. That said, there's another moment where Jax gets to splatter a head, and that one looked pretty awesome. So that's the reality of, like, if we're gonna go Mortal Kombat, I want so many fatalities and just go crazy with the cartoonish blood. That's sort of what we expect, and to have it like become part of the comic relief in a way, so it's sort of we become desensitized to it. So there's moments of it, but it just I wish they just would have just hit the pedal on the gas and just gone crazy. And that's my biggest complaint of the film, is it doesn't feel as crazy and silly and wild as I think the movie could have been, which oddly enough, Mortal Kombat Annihilation did. And I want to plug here, if you guys haven't watched our best movie ever, why Mortal Kombat Annihilation is the best movie ever. It's not. It's a terribly silly movie, but it's a show where we watch some of the worst movies and have to declare, me and my colleague Vito, we have to declare and fake our and make it sound like the best movie ever. And I've sort of come to love this film after we've done this. We had actually Jax from the film, Red Williams, came on to watch it with us. I'll put the video link at the end of this video. In fact, I'll probably put it up here as well. It'll be in the top right corner there if you want to watch it now. But that movie had some it's a really bad movie from a plot standpoint, everything else, but I enjoyed sort of seeing the characters and sort of getting to the fights. And if they had been able to sort of take a little bit of that tone and put it in this movie and give us a little bit more, I think it would have been better off. And that's why it makes me think this franchise has potential. I think they can get their way there on part 2, because there's definitely, it's open-ended to sort of continue to do more. In fact, obviously, I would imagine the next one would be about the tournament and bringing, and potentially there's some people die, so justifying new fighters to come in to sort of partake in the tournament could be great. But this one really sort of sets the tone for sort of like, all right, here's how it works. Here's how they get their powers, which I didn't know if this was in the game, but I don't think it's a spoiler, but it's called the Arcana is what they call it. And so basically they have to push themselves to the brink to like find their Arcana. It usually happens sort of like when you're at your lowest point or near death, or you have to like jump into action. They suddenly discover what their special move is. And that's sort of how they justify it. And so everyone's just sort of random, connected. But if you're chosen and you have the symbol, you then have an Arcana that you have to find. And then that makes you more powerful and sort of ready to fight. And so that's what this film is sort of establishing, how they got their Arcanas, what's going on, what is this battle, what is this world, all these other worlds, what's going on is really what this movie is. And, you know, all that heavy lifting at times didn't entertain me, is I guess how I can put that there. I was going to go through some of the characters just to make sure, give you a quick rundown of like Sonya's okay. She's fine. I liked her. She's tough. She's just written a little poorly, I think, at times, just sort of like the tough as nail, lead, and I don't feel like they don't really explain much or give her much to do aside from gotta do this, gotta do that, and she's okay. She just didn't stand out to me as a huge standout. Looking out here, I really liked. I think I told you I liked Kung Lao. He's got a great moment. Liu Kang. I don't know. It didn't work for me. I'm also just seeing Robin Shou from the other Mortal Kombat movies, and he's kind of a smaller piece and seems like younger. Maybe it's I don't know. There's something about it. He's very pretty. He's very handsome and really good looking. But I don't know. I just wanted a little bit more behind him. So I hope maybe we get to learn and get more into him in future movies, but didn't fully connect to him. I talked about Cole here. He's fine. There's a lot of other sort of surprise villain. They do some other surprise cameos. I won't get to too much, but Mileena shows up. She's in the trailer, which is cool. As well as what's his name? Goro. Why am I forgetting it? The guy with the arms. He's not on Goro. Goro shows up at one point. That fight sequence is a little strange, but ends up pulling itself off. Raiden, you can't really see him at this post. Where's the full poster? Raiden here, he's fine. He again, they don't give him much. A lot of these characters don't get a lot of time to like build out characters. So he's fine. He's the mentor character. And then you have Shang Tsung, who's just solid. It's pretty much the same version we've seen before, but I would say he's even a little bit more menacing. So I liked him. And then you have Sub-Zero, you have Scorpion. They're cool. I like them, and I could have watched more of that. I could have watched their rivalry. It's probably as its own movie, to be perfectly honest. But they do figure out a way to do this cool. Does it make sense? No. You got to sort of. Oh, sorry, you're not looking at the poster. Does it make sense? No. You could have probably justified it, but does it matter that it makes sense is sort of the question I think a lot of people will ask themselves. But I like them a lot. But then overall there are some other characters that do show up. I won't spoil that aren't on the poster that are in there that sort of help give you more fight sequences. But again, in the future, I wouldn't mind more fight sequences and, like I said, more gore, and get us to that tournament. Now that we've set this sort of first chapter. Okay, part of me thinks a lot of this could have been the first act of a movie, and then they could have given us a stronger second and third act in a movie ultimately. So it's a mixed bag for me. I didn't love it, but I didn't just hate it. I did have fun at times. And again, for me, I liked Cole. Cole has some cool moments, but I really liked Kano. Kano is to me was the star, and obviously Scorpion and Sub-Zero. So overall, it's okay. It's definitely great to watch on HBO Max. And if you're a fan, I see a lot of people enjoying it. If you're a fan of the video games and you seem like you like the trailer, definitely check it out on the big screen. There's some big action. It'll look good. And if you haven't yet seen it, now's your chance. Go watch that next. Our best movie ever. It's so much fun. And Jax Red Williams from he roasts the movie a bit himself. It's a really good watch, so come check that out. Make sure if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button first, and then hit that video. I'm going to put it right down there. In fact, I'm going to make it the only video down there, so go check it out when you can. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on Popcorn Planet.
Fatality.